Morris. I'm the chair this year. And we're gonna start by approving the minutes of our last meeting. Does anybody want to approve those?
Move to approve the minutes of our last meeting.
Does anybody wanna second that?
I'll second it.
Okay. So we're gonna start, the first on the agenda is we have 30 minutes of public comment. Would anybody like to make any comment within our 30 minutes? Chip?
Okay. Well, I just wanted to say right now, it's a difficult time with the budget cuts coming down from the district for the school. But as a parent, I have not gotten a lot of information about how that impacts the Sanibel school. I've seen the letter that says we're not going to have an assistant principal next year, and it says that 5th grade will be divided up kind of how middle school is. But I have no idea how teachers are impacted by the budget cuts here at the school, how administrative or staff is impacted, how the middle school or the elementary school is going to be impacted, or education may change or remain the same, or if we're just sailing through unclear. And I know we've gone through the recent transition from Principal Lusk to Ms. Gergel stepping in and acting to lead the school. But I would like more information on how the budget cuts are going to impact the school, and that would help inform me on things that I as a parent could do, what I could say to the school district, or what I could do with PTA. There's a lot of things that I would like to do to help the school, but I need more information. That's my comment.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name's Melissa Lodwick. I'm a community member, and both of my kids graduated the Sanibel School years ago. I worked with Chris years ago, before COVID and the hurricane. I just have a quick question. The meeting minutes that were just approved, where's a copy of those? Where can I find a copy of those?
On the Sanibel School website.
There wasn't the last time I looked.
I will send you how to get there on the site.
Okay, so I just may not have had access.
You have access, you may have just not found it.
Okay, all right.
Okay, anybody else?
Hey, Chris.
Hi.
Hi. I'm Mrs. Campitaro, ELA in middle school, and I would like to piggyback off of Chip there about how it's impacting the school. And I would like to voice that, and teachers can speak up too, that we are deeply dissatisfied with where teachers have been placed and how they've been placed. So we're looking for some, when we have new leadership coming in, if that could possibly be relooked at as a method of doing what's best for the kids.
And I can just say that once, I think anytime a new leadership comes in, that is one of the options they always have, is to review and look at the things that were in place, whether it's a bell schedule or whether it's how we have aligned the staff. Those things are always up for that new individual to come in and make some decisions.
Okay.
That would never be,
There was a lot
nothing
of
would be
shuffling.
set in stone that they couldn't adjust or change.
Any other comments? No? Okay. So we'll move right along, and I would like to tell you that we have just had Dave Newland join in on Zoom, and he is the Chief of Safety, Security, and Fleet Operations. So he is now with us. Welcome, Dave. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we
We
can.
can, yes, sir.
Okay. So next on our agenda is the FAST data. Now this is tentative until finalized by the state over the summer.
Hi everybody. So I did want to also give a little synopsis of PBIS. This is not fast, but since we are chatting data, I figured I would do a little recap of the positive behavior interventions and supports and some of the incentive programs that we put into place this year in our second year of implementation for PBIS. So in the Sanibel Reporter, I sent out semester 1 recap, so this is just a recap on semester 2. So for those of you that don't know, I think that everybody is aware of our Positive Behavior Intervention Supports Program. We have a common language that goes through the school-wide expectations that students practice in every location throughout the school from K to 8. We found that it was really important that we had more of a common language just to unify our students, unify our school so that the expectations are consistent throughout the entire school from one grade level to the next. So that was something that we really put into place and tried to increase the amount of incentives that we had to focus more on the positive this year. So just a quick little recap. Our C's cards, students fill out C's cards for following expectations. Teachers can sign, stamp, put stickers on C's cards for noticing that students are following the expectations, going above and beyond. And after they fill out, or after they get 12 stickers or signatures on their C's cards, they turn it in at lunch for a trip to our C's cart that we are so grateful to have the support of our parents and community for providing lots of new prizes that we keep fresh throughout the school year. So it's something that is exciting and motivating for students to make that little trip to the C's cart. So they go to lunch, get their little prize, and get a little shout out. So in semester 1, we had over 1,300 C's cards turned in. In semester 2, we had over 1,500 C's cards turned in. That is almost 3,000 times that positive behavior is being recognized, and times 12, because in order to turn in a C's card, they have to have 12 little signatures. So that's a lot of positive behavior that's being recognized. Many of you have gotten phone calls from me throughout the year for students that have turned in 10 or more C's cards. When they get their 10th C's card, Mrs. Chance so diligently records those, so we know exactly how many students are turning in C's cards throughout the year. So we've had 124 positive phone calls that have been made throughout the year. So it's just a lot of positivity. And we had 7 students that reached over 20 C's cards this year. So just wanted to throw that out there for lots of positivity. Some other ways that we recognize positive behavior is in the lunchroom. Classrooms compete to earn the golden spatula. So there's a different type of incentive every single month, whether it's ice cream, additional recess, pizza for middle schoolers. They've had a croc day that they can go against dress code, trying to just keep those things motivating for students and meaningful for them. We also have our Tell Me Something Good that you see in the Sanibel Reporter that staff members, parents fill out where they've noticed something that students or staff members do well that goes above and beyond. We recognize the students or staff members in the Sanibel Reporter just to keep the focus on the positive. We also do an extra incentive for elementary. We have our Puppy Pals, our wonderful volunteers that donate their time to come in. And so that incentive kind of varies. So sometimes we do it based on the largest number of students that reach their 10th C's card or the biggest increase in C's cards throughout the month. So like I said, that kind of varies based on the number of C's cards that are turned in. And they get our wonderful golden retriever puppy to come in and spend some extra time with their class. So just lots of focus on the positive. And there will be end of year certificates coming home for so that you know exactly how many C's cards your kiddos have earned throughout the year. So just lots of things to be proud of and lots of shout outs happening. We will be applying for gold status this year now that we have 2 years of implementation data. That doesn't come out for a little while, but last year we did earn silver, and so we're hoping to, with the increase in the positive behavior focus, we're hoping to qualify for gold this year, but more to come on that. Okay. So this is in previous SAC meetings, we have done progress monitoring 1, 2, and now we've added 3 comparisons. So you see, and I'll go through each grade level so that you can see the improvement. Our school is that bottom row. So this is just proficiency. And this data, just so that I am clear, is very raw data. It does not take into account students that may not count for our school based on FTE if they were not here during certain weeks of the school year. So some students, let's say they just moved to our school and only enrolled in January. This is just like hypothetical. They would not count according to state calculations. So these numbers are subject to change, but I just wanted to give preliminary data based on what we have right at this moment. We still do have makeup testing that is happening. So again, very preliminary, but just wanted you to have an idea. So this is kindergarten. You can see a humongous jump from Progress Monitoring 1 to Progress Monitoring 3. We have 93% of our students at this moment that are proficient. Good job, Cassie. Yay, kindergarten. I know, lots to celebrate. You can hold your applause to the end because there are lots of grade levels that we really, they've made tremendous growth throughout the year, and that's a testament of the hard work and interventions and differentiation from our teachers, really focusing on what our students need, whether that's intervention or enrichment. One other thing that I forgot to mention that also goes into school grade calculation is learning gains. And so it's not just for students that aren't proficient learning gains, we also take into account students that are proficient if they're making learning gains to stay at that proficiency level and still continue to grow. So first grade ELA, you see they went from 33% proficient at the beginning of the year, Progress Monitoring 1, all the way up to 91% and well above the state and district average. So great job, Mr. Second grade went from 27% proficient all the way up to 79% proficient. Good job, Brad. Third grade went from 37% proficient to 74% proficient, again, well above the district and state average. So good job, third grade. Fourth grade, we did have some challenges. We've got some students that are receiving interventions through the MTSS program. Lots of differentiation happening, but definitely an area to continue to focus on to make sure that the supports are in place based on what students need. So definitely an area of growth that we have noticed. However, I want you to, I know the proficiency numbers may not be the best, but I do want you to take a look at the last two colors. So those are students that achieved a level 4 or a level 5. And you see at the beginning of the year in Progress Monitoring 1, we had only 14% both a level 4, and I know hard to see, I'm sorry, 14% in level 4 or 5, but then quite a huge gain in Progress Monitoring 3. We have 26% proficient in both, or level 4 and level 5 in both. So just, though the proficiency numbers definitely need some improvement, an area for us to grow, there has been learning gains and students that are above the standard of what's being set. So I just wanted to make sure that we point that out because though an area for growth, still some positive things to take out of this as well. All right, fifth grade went from 65% proficient to 90% proficient in Progress Monitoring 3. Sixth grade,
Hard to beat that.
hard to, I mean, yes. So 6th grade, 95% proficient Progress Monitoring 1, 95% proficient in Progress Monitoring 2, and again, well, 2 and 3 really. And again, you know, lots of focus on interventions and how we can support students that aren't yet meeting that standard. 7th grade went from 68% proficient in Progress Monitoring 1 to 84% in Progress Monitoring 3. And then 8th grade, 73% proficient in Progress Monitoring 1 to 84% proficient in Progress Monitoring 3. Okay, on to math. And math is often where we see like a bigger jump because in Progress Monitoring 1, they have not yet received the instruction. So it's very common to see really, really low numbers in Progress Monitoring 1 because they haven't been taught the skills and the content yet. So Progress Monitoring 1, 19% proficient, all the way up to 89% proficient. Progress Monitoring 3 for kindergarten math. First grade, very similar, 12% proficient in progress monitoring 1 to 91% proficient in progress monitoring 3. Huge growth in our elementary grades. 53% proficient in progress monitoring 1 to 86 in progress monitoring 3 for second grade. And notice too, and I probably should have pointed this out in the previous ones, but we had several students that were achieving a level 1 and then no students achieving a level 1 in progress monitoring 3. So just want to highlight that. The less red and orange, the better. Progress monitoring 1, 13% proficient for third grade, all the way up to 81% proficient in progress monitoring 3. Fourth grade, 33% to 79%. Fifth grade, 0% proficient in progress monitoring 1, all the way up to 88% proficient in progress monitoring 3. So quite a jump. You'll notice I skipped 6th grade math because, and Mrs. Scarnato, Mrs. Scarnato is our wonderful math teacher for middle school, but we've also accelerated some students this year to follow a bit more of an accelerated path. So 6th grade math, we actually do not have students taking right now.
The kids went from 5th grade to 7th grade math, and all the kids that made that jump from 5th to 7th grade math scored a 5 on their PM3. But you have to remember, this 7th grade math is gonna be some 6th graders who were level 1s and 2s, all the way up to 5th graders that were 4s and 5s. So the whole middle school math is a little bit different because we have had an amazing ability to be flexible with our kids. And I think one of the most important things, because some of those numbers aren't as good as I would have loved, but the most important thing is the kids that are accelerating and in their mid-year reviews, that was the first time they've ever been challenged. So our top end kids are getting the math at the level in which they deserve.
And you heard Mrs. Scarnato mention in their mid-year review, so she surveys students. She wants to know what their feedback is too, so that we can continue to grow as educators. And they reported to her that they never felt like they were challenged in math before until this year. So I think that good for them for advocating for themselves and also acknowledging that they are now being challenged in order to enrich what they've always had good achievement, but now it's just pushing that to the next level. Okay, 8th grade math, 63% to 64%, and that's one thing that Mrs. Scarnato had mentioned too. And again, raw data, we did have some absences that we are working with some students that did miss quite a bit of school, so they're missing the instruction. And some also newer enrollees that may have missed some of the instruction from earlier in the school year. So being a small school, when you only have a small number of students that are enrolled, that does impact the percentages because each student may count for roughly 5 percentage points. So a swing of 1 or 2 students does make a bigger difference, so that kind of explains some of that as well. Okay, algebra and geometry, end of course exam. So well above the state and district average for both proficiency in both of those courses. Those are high school level courses that we do have quite a few students that are taking this year, and that's part of the accelerated path that we were discussing, so that students, that the pass rate is higher for when students take algebra and geometry in middle school rather than waiting to high school. So that's some of the reasoning behind some of those decisions. And then civics. 7th grade students do take the civics end of course exam, and we had an 89% pass rate for that. So lots to be proud of. And this is just kind of a breakdown. So these are the different score reporting categories that the state looks at in order to determine if we are an A, B, C, etc. Right now, again, very rough, very preliminary, subject to change based on our FTE, based on makeup testing, but this is just if we got our school grade tomorrow, this is what I would calculate for the school grade numbers at this present moment.
Do we have data from science yet?
Science, yes, I did not put that screenshot in there,
don't
did
know.
I? I'm so
Scribble
sorry.
pull it, 'cause I'm-
I have it up here, 5th and 8th grade science, sorry. 87% proficient, I just didn't put the pretty graph. Thank you, I'm sorry. Yeah,
And
so
that's
87% proficient, and that's 5th grade and 8th grade combined. But when we post this, I will make sure, will someone make a note of that, please, and highlight it so that I don't forget. When we post this on the website, I will include the science graph so that it is separated for 5th grade and 8th grade. Thank you for noticing.
That's it? Okay.
Yes.
So next on our agenda is the March 12th summary. So who's going to lead that? Is that you or Mr. Newland?
Mr. Newland?
Okay, Mr. Newland, can you hear us?
Here's my.
You've got him muted, you need to unmute him.
I'll let you do it.
He,
Yeah, I can
well,
do it.
There we go.
he has, there he is, yes.
Can you hear us, Mr. Newland?
Yep.
Okay, we were gonna review the March 12th summary.
Yeah, so I'm not, I can't see everybody, so who we have, anybody, how many people have a group of parents there, or a good amount of parents there that may have questions? I can go over it, but.
Okay, we have about 20 people, 25 people here. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, there you are, so let me.
There, okay, go ahead.
Let me say this real quick, so obviously, this question's great, I look forward to having questions, it is beyond the bomb threat, that's fine as well too, it's security related. But just so y'all know, there was going back over that event, there was a email that went to the junk email, went to various districts throughout Florida of a very big bomb threat. It was caught an hour and a half later. Again, went everybody's junk email. It was going around, again, different places. So at that point, as you know, they did the bomb drill. They had the kids come out in the parking lot. The police department responded, and eventually, as a precaution, had the only bomb team we have in Lee County, obviously, Lee County Sheriff's Office, is a very experienced bomb team. They respond with normal procedures to check the building. There was questions about the one building, why didn't you use the one building to evacuate into, which is the, I can't remember the name of the building all of a sudden, but it's a federal building, but because of the government shutdown, that building was inaccessible. The kids were brought in the parking lot and it was cleared. Now obviously, anytime we have an event, we always do an after action to look at any event to see how we can improve, what went well, what went wrong. We met with the Sanibel Police Department and we had a discussion, which is again, this common procedure. In fact, even recently, we even talked about, even to Captain Matthew Monahan, he's an expert in bomb threats and respond to bomb threats. He's been with the bomb team, oversees it since the early 2000s. He's recognized as an expert in that field. So we even talked to him, we spoke to him about that as far as the most recent updated responses to bomb threats, what's recommended through FBI, Homeland Security. There's a company called, an organization that's under Homeland Security called CISA, which you might want to write it down, but it's called Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Again, CISA, if you Google CISA, there are several videos that talks about from the K through 12 what the recommended response is for bomb threats and the different levels. So obviously, anytime we do this, we look at our own policies. If it needs to be updated, we update our policies. We just had training, in fact, recently at the district office for central leadership. We brought in Captain Matthew Monahan, and actually we're doing training again over the summer with all the principals in July to look at recent updates. Just my background, I have 30 years of law enforcement. I was a police chief in Cape Coral, and during my experience, we've had a lot of bomb threats called in over the years. Most times when they're called in, almost every time I would say, it's a distraction. It's meant a distraction, it's a vulnerability. And usually when that happened in the past, we always expected it was going to be a distraction. There's probably going to be a bank robbery in the area. It's all law enforcement responding to a bomb threat. So we discussed those things, but going with the current, a lot of things have changed over the years, and it continues to change in how you respond to bomb threats. I will tell you that if you look at, from Department of Homeland Security, and that's why I recommend to look up CISA, watch the video, there's videos on there, they actually explain about K through 12, what the expectation is and how you should respond. And a lot of these vague bomb threats, I will tell you, they recommend not to evacuate. Because sometimes, just like the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting in Broward County in 2018, when the shooter hit the fire alarm, it was a distraction to get everybody outside into the hallways to shoot the kids down. So a lot of these things sometimes they look at from various aspects. There's always going to be others that are going to disagree with how you respond no matter what you do. But that's why we train, that's why we do after action on what we do to improve. So just to give you some ideas, I won't go into too long, I want to hear your input, answer questions. I answer the best I can, but all I can tell you is that we are constantly looking, we're always training, we're always doing after actions to improve. It's not uncommon, and we will continue to move forward and improve as we move forward. But a lot has changed over the years with bomb threats. But again, there's always two sides to it. So I just want to elevate that. And if you watch the CISA video, I would encourage all of you to watch it afterward. It'll give you some insight to what they currently recommend. But I'm sure some of you may have some specific questions, so please let me know if you have any questions.
Yes, I have.
Can you just state your name before your
yes.
question, because
Yes,
not everybody
hi,
knows everybody.
my name is Jillian Merrill, I'm a first grader. First, I wanted to say how
Hi, Mr.
good.
Mark.
Sorry, what'd you say?
No, I said hi, how are you?
Oh, hi, good, how are you? So first I wanted to say how thankful I am to have Officer Bover here. I feel like he just did a wonderful job and that brought me so much peace of mind. And of course our staff, you know, the parking lot was just peaceful. I had no idea, I was second or third in line and I thought it was just a fire
Right.
drill. So everyone did really well in that regards. My first question is, why was a drill initiated rather than an active response? If there was a live threat via email, how come a drill was initiated?
Well, the drill was initiated in order to get everybody's attention at that time, and again, I look from the principal to get everybody's attention to get the kids out to the parking lot. And I will tell you again, if you look at the current recommendation, because it's so vague, because it was so vague, it was an hour and a half past, it already had, again, been there for an hour and a half in junk email, and it was sent to several districts all over Florida. The recommendation now would be that you shouldn't evacuate, because there was nothing specific about it. But again, like I mentioned, that's the hard part, because when it comes down to that, there's always gonna be one side that's gonna say you should evacuate no matter what, and the other side's gonna say, well, you shouldn't evacuate. So that's the hard part we wrestle with on these type of scenarios, when we look at Homeland Security, FBI, and that's why I reached out to Captain Monahan, because so much has changed. I'll tell you even now, back in the day, it was, at one point it was where they wanted no cellular or radio communication within 500 feet of any bomb threat. That's even changed. What they have realized nowadays is that's caused more harm than good, because when you're in a building, there's no communication. How do you communicate when you find something if you can't have cellular or radio communication? So if we're looking at what could set something off, they have other, what they call now is called 50 feet and around the corner. And I can explain more how that works, but a lot has changed over time. So, but again, like your question was why we did it, that's why we did it. But then again, that's why we did it after action. That's why we met with, we had discussion with the principal. We talked to the Sanibel Police Department, Lee County Sheriff's Office to really get, what was the best way to handle the situation. So, and that's where we started looking at our own policies and what's the current latest recommendations by those that have their experts in that field. What should we be doing in a K through 12 environment? That makes sense.
Yes, I guess I'm kind of concerned about the drill aspect in particular because the teachers didn't know what was going on. I don't know if that was all teachers, but students were reporting there's like a mom's group chat and students were saying that some of the teachers, like the older levels, I don't know, this is just what a parent had reported.
Yeah.
They had said that teachers were like, oh, why are we doing a fire drill at this time? So the fact that it wasn't communicated with everyone was a major concern to me. I did talk to Lusk about that though, and she did say that there is like a panic button. So I was like, I would like there to be no room for gray area in that regards. Like everyone needs to know exactly what's going on, and that was my biggest concern with the drill verbiage, why it wasn't communicated or handled, because there was a live threat, there was an email, so I don't know why it was handled.
And I agree, if all teachers didn't know that was happening, then that should have been better communicated, absolutely. And that's why we're doing more training over the summer. Again, go over the latest trends and changes and really what is expected with what they recommend nowadays versus what used to be, again, a lot has changed. But you're right, if they don't know about it, they should have.
Yeah, I can't speak for anyone, that's just what a mom had reported that one of her kids had, but now, once I kind of read through, I did get the police report, and then once I went through that, it kind of, I got my answer from that, but that's good to hear, that you do agree, yeah, it should be like.
Yeah, and that's important, I mean, if you wanna make sure everybody should know what's going on, if not, then that is a problem we have to address to make sure that doesn't happen again.
And I think part of that too is just to not alarm the students, because the evacuation was happening so quickly when that was initiated. And so to not cause panic with the students, since they were a part of the evacuation as well, I think that is probably part of it. I know that doesn't necessarily justify, but I think that just to give a little perspective on that question.
But let me say this though, there's always room for improvement. We're always open to improving the best we can. That's why we have events like this. We need to take advantage of these events and move forward from there and do better each time. So that's why we always talk about these things and really how can we improve? That's important.
And one suggestion I had to that, this was also in the mom's group chat, there were 2 students that day that were playing principal for the day. And I think it sounded like staff is used to whenever that happens, that student is allowed to initiate a drill. And I did ask Mrs. Lesk, I was like, can we put an end to that? I just feel like there's nothing fun about initiating an emergency drill for a student. I mean, I'm sure there's, but so I didn't know if that's moving forward, that won't be.
That was discussed,
Okay,
yes,
great.
Absolutely.
And go ahead, you had a question?
Yeah, this is Chip Welch, I'm a parent here at Sanibel School. Thank you for coming, it's very helpful to get this information and your perspective on things. I'm curious about looking at after action and the response time that you found. Can you provide a little more information on like what time you got this bomb threat, and then what time the drill was initiated, and then what time police brought in extra people to the scene, and what time your bomb crew was here on the scene?
Yeah. So basically, like I said before, these emails went out to all different districts and schools, and it went everybody's junk email. So I think I mentioned before that this was caught in the junk email. I think about, again, I don't have it in front of me, about an hour and a half later. It was already in the junk email. So yeah, that's why nobody saw it. So by the time they saw this, it was already past the time where the threat was made. If that makes sense. So as a precaution, that's when they immediately called, Ms. Lusk had initially did a bomb drill. You have your 2 SROs that were already on campus, and that's when they brought the kids outside. Now I know that the police department reached out to Lee County Sheriff's Office, because again, that's the only bomb team we have specialized in that in Lee County, so you all know. I think the airport has one too, but we use Lee County. So I don't know exactly when I can't think exactly the exact time they arrived, but it was already past the time we'd already cleared it. They were just checking the area. So I think Lee County came out, they were asked to come out, but I'll be honest with you, they probably normally would, because it was so vague, and they knew we went out to multiple locations and areas. They knew it was not legit. That makes sense.
Okay. Do you know how long, how many minutes was it between the time that you started the drill and the time that you cleared the threat?
I can't tell you, I don't know exactly how, and then maybe who's there can tell you, but I know when they had the drill, right when they found out the junk email, it was a junk email, she hit the drill, and then the kids all came outside. Now, how long they're outside for, I can't tell exactly how long that was. Maybe administration in the room with you can tell you.
I can pull the report, but it was roughly 12 minutes, roughly. Like I said, I can pull the report and look at the exact times, but it was roughly 12 minutes from the time that the drill evacuation happened until going back into the building.
To piggyback off that, this is Jillian Merrill again, the one with the initial questions. When I was reviewing the police report, it said that Officer Bober just didn't see anything out of the ordinary. When he did his preliminary sweep, it didn't say that the area was cleared. So I don't know if that goes back to kind of what you were saying, that bomb threats, it's hard to handle that because is it a distraction? Is it, it's just a vulnerable position? So why were the kids brought back into the classrooms if the area hadn't been cleared by like a bomb squad or the appropriate authorities when Officer Bober never used the word clear in his report? He just said he didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Is that just like, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, that's why I think it's important that I mentioned this CISA, the latest on how they respond. I will tell you that what they recommend now is they want school administration to search the schools, because when the police department responds to a school, everything looks like a bomb to them. They don't know what's been there and what's not. And their belief is, and the training is that admin, school, administration, teachers, they see the building every single day. They know it's in their classroom, in the hallways, they're there every single day. So they know if something stands out, they're gonna see it. So that recommendation, what they ask for now is, they think it's a lot faster if school administration checks their immediate area. But again, a lot depends on how it's called. There are certain levels. That's why I mentioned to watch these videos. I think it gives you they'll give you a light a little bit of what they recommend, what they're seeing nowadays. But because it's so vague, they really push against evacuating all because of the concern that is somebody trying to get the kids out of the building. Why, that's the concern, and it's a vulnerability. When you're bringing kids outside an area, you think about it, it's a vulnerability, but, it's a hard decision to make because, again, as a parent, and I'm a parent too, you still question, like, well, I think, you sometimes think, well, the kids still should evacuate. You know what I mean? It's a hard decision to make, but I'm just telling you from our training, what we're going through and discussing, that's why. So, to answer your question, really, based on what happened here, I don't think now with our discussion, talking with Sanibel and talking to the Lee County Sheriff's Office, the bomb team coming out later on to check it really was not needed because of how vague it was. I will tell you that. They wouldn't normally come out there because it's so vague, it was not specific. They know it went to multiple districts. It was one of those, we call it a swatting call. And, the caller came from, I think the call was outside the country, so the email was outside the country. So it's one of those things that we get those occasions, unfortunately, that they do it on purpose to create a distraction, which is sad to say, but that's what we're dealing with.
Michelle, go ahead.
Michelle Walker, parent of a student at the school. To me, it's really sounding like this is a district-wide problem, and I wanna know what actions the district is putting in place to monitor. This went into a spam file. It wasn't even flagged as important. So what is the district doing at that level to capture these emails and evaluate them as to this new, should it be evaluated, should it not? Because it doesn't feel like this should be a school-by-school process. Emails are filed by the district automatically. This feels like something that should be flagged, captured, and evaluated by the district level immediately.
Let me rephrase that. It's not a school process. It is a district process. That's why our IT department looks at these things. So when we look at things like that, to make sure that we can catch these, like I said, I'm not an IT person, but I can say that's the things that we focus on. So it's not a school specific, it's a district-wide process, like you said, it is district-wide. So we look at that's why I mentioned before, that's why we got together and had these discussions to look at this. And that's why we have the after action, that's why we did training last week with the bomb team. That's why we're doing training over the summertime, with all the principals, all the school administrators, about the latest trends and what should be done and how you handle bomb threats. That's why we're gonna revise our SOPs, and then we do training. So we take it very seriously, and all these things we're working on, all these things we look at each time. Every time it happens, we take advantage of that, and that's why we have these discussions, that's why we do after action to improve moving forward.
I think what
Even law enforcement,
So I guess I'm not asking the question appropriately.
Can I clarify?
Yes.
Mr. Newland, it's Ms. Neely, I'm gonna try to clarify what I think I heard her question to be. Does that sound good? I think what I heard was through the mechanism that emails come through, is there a mechanism within the IT department to detect or identify a message?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Principals, APs, whomever at the schools shouldn't be looking for these every 10 minutes. This should be something that's automatically flagged at the district level. Hey,
Yeah.
this
And-
happened.
And
We got
oftentimes,
this.
we aren't in our office and checking emails, so
I don't ever
that's-
check my spam.
yeah.
I mean,
No. And I wanna say, Mr. Newland, you can correct me, but there were several people within inside the district that were either principals, not principals, some were classified staff members, a wide variety that got it. It did not get picked up by anything within the system. If it had, it would have been a different situation. I'm not aware, Mr.
And
Newland.
I apologize, and I thought I answered your question, but yeah, that's why we got with IT, so it would be caught by keywords. So it would not go in junk email. I'm sorry, if I didn't answer your question, that's what I meant. But that's why we work with IT department to catch that, so it does not go in the junk email. Does that make sense?
Yes.
yes.
Because if it goes in junk email, like they said, you're not gonna see it all the time unless you check it specifically. But it goes to your general file, that's where they look at some key phrases they pull up to avoid that.
Dorothy, did you have a question?
Well, more of a statement, if I may. So my name is Dorothy Plum. I have a 5th grader here at the school, and honestly, I too read the police report, and I guess I might have been mistaken because I really also thought this was a district-wide response, that it was a standardized response. And in fact, while you're saying it's not a school-by-school response, that you're saying, you know, and we're learning from all of these instances, unfortunately, and I understand that, but there should be a standard response. So we receive a bomb threat, you know, step 1 goes into play, whatever that might have been. Lust calls Neely, Lust calls the police. Steps 2 should have been this. Based on the email, step 3 should have been this, and so forth. This shouldn't have been well, some data says you should go outside and some data says you should not. That's not the time in which we should be looking or analyzing data. This stuff should be standardized, and we trust our children to a district that's supposed to secure them. So I actually am far more concerned and lack confidence now hearing all of this data than I did before.
This is a district-wide policy, it's not school by school. So I think, again, let me rephrase that again. All the schools do the same response. It is in writing, there is an SOP, and that's what we train for. My point I was trying to make was, when you have an event like this, you always try to learn from the event so we can improve moving forward. So if we catch something that was not done properly, we want to improve. I think all of us would agree on that, correct? So that's why we work with the experts, reached out to the sheriff's office to, again, we brought the bomb team in. And I mentioned to you guys the latest trends because things have changed. We want to make sure we keep up the latest trends. So when this happens, when we change a policy, that policy affects all schools, not just one. So anything we do, it affects everybody. We all have the same response. And that's my point. So it's not school by school. That's why we have an SOP that covers all the schools. That's why we do training. So when I bring the bomb team back in over the summer with all the principals and administration, this will be the training they'll go through on how and the response has changed, which will reflect our change in our policy, which is for all schools. And then we do training. Again, so that it's always to improve. I hope that makes more sense.
Melissa?
Hi, my name's Melissa Lodwick. I'm a community member, and I'm very passionate about kids. I've been in administration and teaching for a lot of years. So am I understanding you correctly? You are saying that the school administration team is going to be asked to be responsible to search the school for bombs if one is called in?
No, what I said was, I want you to look at the videos that they're discussing, the latest trends.
Did I miss it?
That's one of the things they do recommend. Yes, that's what I said. That's what they recommend.
No, I understand what you're
I
saying.
say we're gonna, well, hold on. I I didn't say we're gonna do that. I said that's what they recommend.
What's your opinion on that?
I think it depends on the event. I think it's a hard thing to do to get
No,
in
it
the
doesn't.
church, but
No,
the
it
law
doesn't.
enforcement makes a point with that,
No,
of why they recommend you
no,
do that. Now, will we do that? I don't wanna, again, this is something we're gonna we look at everything, and we're doing this while we do training. I'm not saying we're doing it, that's the recommendation. Did I say that all schools do the same way? I didn't say that. But that's one of the latest thing they recommend. That's all I was trying to say.
I'm just having a trouble with that statement and trying to follow you. So, okay, so,
And others do as well too, but that's what the recommendation is. I didn't say we're doing it.
okay, let me ask one more question I need clarification on, please. Why would a bomb dog not be sent in with a professional to do this?
So when you take a school that's 2 stories, 3 stories, that's 100,000 square feet with one bomb dog, which is the whole school, the reason they recommend that is for is because realistically, it wouldn't take up easy to search the whole school.
No.
And what they're saying is, a lot of these times these things are so vague, the recommendation is the school administration, any building, not just schools, that are familiar with their building, there has been a lot of times that the administration, the employees are familiar with their surroundings, what's there, what sticks out, and law enforcement will not know. Now, I didn't say.
They're not trained in searching for bombs. No, I disagree with that statement. But, okay,
Well,
so.
you disagree with that. I didn't say I agree either. I just said what was recommended.
You told me to watch the video, which I will completely do,
Yeah,
but,
watch it.
okay, so my kids went to a high school that is 3 stories tall in Fort Myers, and they brought in drug dogs every once in a while to search. So how's that different?
Sometimes time doesn't
I
answer,
can't,
depends
I
on the threat,
cannot.
that's all I said. And I didn't tell you, I know you can raise your hands up, all I said was watch the video. I didn't say we're
Okay,
doing
I will certainly do that.
that. Okay.
Great. I will watch the video.
I am just wondering, it sounds like there will be some new, procedures involved with the SOP for this, and I'm wondering who determines which practices will become best practices for Lee County schools.
Working with our experts and the bomb team and law enforcement and the school administration, we will all decide what the best response is for the school site. And that will reflect in the SOP.
Okay, thank you.
Go, Mrs. Camputaro?
No, I'll wait.
Well, Alexis Camputaro, teacher, as well as I have a kindergartner here, and I've been teaching here for 10 years now, and whenever we do the bomb drills, we normally go next door to Ding Darling. Didn't do that for this particular one, so moving forward, I mean, is there, and I would also like to have in place like a very safe location to go to that's not as close or on campus, because that seemed like
So we have,
odd.
yeah, there is reunification of sites we've identified in Sanibel, and there's evacuation points as well. At that time, this bomb threat took place, when I talked to Ms. Lust, the Ding Darling was closed down to the government shutdown, they didn't have access to it.
So the parking lot? That's where we go, we just line up on the parking lot lines. We don't need access to the building. We don't go in the
And
building.
again, like I said, there's still back and forth about whether you should evacuate or not because of how big it was. So that's always the back and forth about, that's why we're having these discussions. Where some will think we should evacuate, and some think we shouldn't because it's meant as a distraction. I don't always think evacuation, and you may disagree, but evacuating is not always the best method to respond to these.
I agree as a teacher and a student that being safe is better than being sorry.
Right. So it could be, again, if you look at other things, it could be a way to get kids out of the building for a reason, it could be a bad reason. So that's why they recommend something, it could be meant as a distraction and vulnerability.
Part of our drills, we always try to vary the scenario of drills and vary the time that drills happen so that students are in different locations throughout campus. It might be during a class change, it might be when they're in PE or recess. And so part of our practice is to vary those different scenarios. We do have another fire drill that does need to happen, and we will be practicing our secondary evacuation route so that teachers and students can practice that additional safety measure. So just that way.
Mr. Newland, it's Miss Neely again, I've got just another thing to kind of clarify. I also think that one of the things to recognize is, we assume that it's inside the building, right? We're assuming that in this scenario, that it's inside the building, but what if it's outside the
That's
building
what it
someplace?
said, the email
Right.
itself said it was on the outside.
So then, those are why you have to do things different, right? Because every scenario is slightly different, and I think that's why the weight of the principal's job and the SRO's job is so vital, that their connection together to decide, one, what is our next step? Because it may not be the location we have identified. There's oftentimes that you're gonna have to change or do something slightly different than you would have, even in your home scenarios that you have at home. If somebody says it's outside, I'm probably gonna stay inside, or I'm gonna go out a different way, or you're gonna do something slightly different than you would have practiced, if that makes sense. And so that's why during real life scenarios, you can't say that the way we practice it is always 100% the way that it's always going to occur. Ms. Sikowski.
Well, that brings up a good question. Who made the decision to evacuate the children to the front of the school?
That would be a school, that would be between the school and the SRO, and they would make and identify the right scenario and the right situation.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
So
Can I
this-
ask a question? Let me ask you a question, 'cause I don't understand, as parents, where do you feel your kids should have been evacuated to?
Ding darling.
Ding
Darling?
What if it's not accessible, what would you recommend?
Next door to Ding
Oh.
Darling,
And if
or the rec center maybe?
If you had read the email and it said it was outside, would you still have taken
I
them
would
to
have
the garden?
evacuated them all the way, yeah.
I honestly probably would not have gone outside.
I wouldn't have either.
If I were the principal, I don't know that I would have that day, right?
But-
But that's why I wasn't there, the SRO's there, the administration's there, and they're gonna do what they deem is the best case scenario for the students. I also don't know that I would have thought it was credible, truthfully. Because it came from some weird account that didn't match anything, because there wasn't a specific location, because there were a wide variety of things. I don't know that I would have taken it as credible, so I probably would have thought, you know what, let's just run a drill in this scenario, because we need to get one done. I'll know that we can practice something that's a little unique or different than what we've normally done, but we're still following the protocol of going out. Now, how you communicate that to the staff, that is still up for debate. I didn't hear that piece of things. And so I do think that transparency is something that this community absolutely values. They want that more than they want anything else, is to be completely transparent. And I think I would be remiss if I didn't say that I think this was a difficult decision on that day between the school, the SRO, and whoever they may have communicated or worked with on either end that they had. But to think that we would know what to do in that scenario, if it said it's outside, do we stay inside? I don't know. I don't know what we'd do. We'd each make a different decision inside this room. But I have to trust that my SRO, that my school principal are making the right decision for my kids at that one moment in time, because it may be different the next time. You know what I mean? The decision may be different the next time.
So,
That's kind of where I have to really honestly disagree, having experience with, other, organizations that make SOPs for scenarios. You pre-plan what is every potential scenario that might happen, and this is what you do, because the whole point of the SOP is you don't wanna be making decisions at that last second. You want the district to identify that email before, not an hour and a half, 3 hours, 10 minutes, I don't know what the time frame was, but not because it went into someone's spam mail. That should have been identified and cleared immediately if it was deemed unnecessary, unbelievable, non-credible. That should have just not even, it should have become a non-issue immediately when it hit the email. And if it did hit someone's email and said, at door 3, well, you know, when it's at door 3, we go here. If it's in the library, we go here. Like, plans are not, well, maybe if we think something might happen somewhere, we're gonna do this. It's all written out, so there is not, you don't want that pressure on one person or 5 people you wanna know, this is what I do at this time when this scenario happens. So I hope that the district is really making this a more serious consideration as global and local and real and fake situations and scenarios are popping up.
And Mr. Dillon and I are the district and we are taking that back. Thank you.
You know, we take these very seriously no matter what. I don't want anybody to think we don't take them seriously, and the SOP is in there. It does address it, but you gotta understand too, in any SOP, any policy, these are guidelines, but some things happen that sometimes doesn't address every single scenario. And that's why the experts come in, and that's why we train for it. It's like we do reunifications, we can't account for every single thing that may happen or account for it, but we train because we know how to respond to it. And again, like I said, in this situation, probably the best thing would have been to do is not to evacuate at all because it was so vague. I wouldn't even evacuate it. I would have kept the kids in the classroom. And that's what you get disagreement on, but that's the hard part to make the decision on. And you're always gonna have people gonna disagree with decisions you make. But I'm just sharing with you that that's what we talk about, these training and distraction. Is it more of a vulnerability to bring the kids out in the parking lot? Could be. Depends on the threat, depends on what the information is.
Laura Gales, I have 2 kids at the school. I wanted to express my appreciation for how it was handled. I have a very anxious child who gets nervous during the lockdown drills and all that kind of stuff. He came home unfazed, unaware, completely calm. I appreciate that they took the kids out, that the very knowledgeable SROs who train on our campus in the summer and everything came, saw nothing out of the ordinary, and the children were quickly brought back in and dismissed to their parents and the buses and removed from campus and any potential threat, credible or non-credible. So I was very pleased with how it was handled and how my son experienced the situation without any of the anxiety I felt when I got the email.
Any other questions? Mrs. Coronado?
Okay, first I'll talk as a teacher, I don't understand. I'll talk as a teacher, and then I'll talk as a parent, because my daughter can't be here, or a nana, which I am. You keep mentioning change in policies, that things keep changing, but yet we as staff members have never been informed of any of these, such as, we have never ever been told or trained or watched these videos that you continuously refer to about making changes. And I totally understand changes because I've been in this district for 26 years and I've seen a lot happen. I've gone through a lot of bomb threats, credible, uncredible. And I am very concerned that you keep making these things, watch this video. If this video is so important to you that you're sitting here telling us that we need to watch it, why are us teachers who are here every day protecting our kids, why haven't we been asked to watch it? We have to watch 23 other videos every year for our mandatory training. This to me is like most important because of the safety of our kids and ourselves. Now as a parent, or a nana in this case, I was here, I had taken my track team outside, and there was another teacher on campus with his music group, Orff Club. Principal called us and told us what had happened, similar to what you're saying, and told us an email would be going out to parents. So I immediately called my daughter and I said, listen, honey, Holston's with me, we're all safe, we are all good to go. I promise you nothing's happening to your son. I'm staying with track, we've been assured that there's nothing wrong. I clear out my track team, my last player, go home, I go to my room, I gather my stuff. Approximately the same time, our music teacher is wrapping up his club and leaving. I don't know how many people are aware of it, but there was still a teacher on campus, and I wasn't even halfway off the island when he called me and said to me, why are the dogs here? Why are they searching the building? So to me, if this is so non-credible, why are the dogs 2.5 hours after the fact searching our building? Because to me, that said to me, well, maybe our building wasn't safe, maybe my kids were not safe, and we left kids here on campus and then later thought it was credible enough to bring dogs onto campus.
Wait, the dogs did come?
Yeah.
Yes, the dogs were on our campus. And if you keep saying it was so incredible, and you're saying how hard it is to get dogs out here, why did 2.5 hours after the fact did dogs come to our campus? Because that's been asking me as a teacher. I had people calling me all spring break because they know I'm very involved at the school and asking me, what's going on, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know, I can't tell you, I don't know. But I am very concerned that I was allowed to keep kids on campus when dogs were brought in after the fact. Because I don't feel safe now. I don't know what, I mean, I coach every single sport. I'm here every night after school. And if something like this happens again, I'm not gonna stick around with my kids. Because if the dogs haven't come cleared the campus and you're bringing them after the fact, that doesn't make me feel very safe as a teacher, as a sports coach, to be left at campus. And I'm sure I'm speaking for our other teacher as well, how incredibly upset he is about the fact that we were left on campus with kids.
So Mr. G was in the building?
Yes, he was in the building with students, and I was right outside with my track team. Do you have an answer for that, sir?
Well, yes, I'll let you finish speaking before I respond. The reason why I mentioned the video, the video, is to give you an idea of what the latest trends are right now. I'm not pushing the video. This is a current discussion we had last week. And I was just sharing with you as parents that if you want to watch the video, you can. You don't have to. I thought I'd share it with you. Now, we have this, we do go with this, and again, like you said, why as teachers, how come we haven't seen the video yet? And at some point, you may, once we decide to go that route, we change our SOP, we do training. But that was something I wanted to share as parents, to share the video with you, and have you a perspective of what's really happening, what they're looking at now, the latest trends. That's all that was. Now, as far as having the bomb dog come out, I don't want to speak for the police department, but we met with the police department afterward, and that's why I mentioned before, when you have an event like this, we go back and look at these things and say, what could we have done differently? Now, I don't want to speak for, I'm not going to speak for Chief Bill Dalton or his SROs, but I think of looking at what latest trends, I think part was too, when they contacted Lee County, they weren't sure when Lee County was even going to respond. That was an initial thought, but I think going back and looking at, now we have these discussions, and again, I don't want to speak for them, but being as vague as it was, it wasn't necessary. But again, that's how we talk about things and how we improve. But the video has not been out for a long time, and I'm sorry, I apologize, I forgot your name, but at some point, when we do training, I mentioned training, every year we go through the training. So I was just sharing that with everybody, just to get an idea of what's the current latest trend to Homeland Security and FBI, that's all.
You still haven't answered my question, sir. Why 2.5 hours after the threat was made, why were the dogs called to this building? There had to be a reason. You just told me it's impossible, it's hard to get dogs out here.
Well, I told you that, there wasn't a reason, I told you why. They called it canines, and they didn't think they were gonna be able to make it out. They responded later on. And probably going back and looking at it, wasn't necessary. Again, I don't wanna speak for the police department, but there's no other information. The information, like I told you before, was vague. It went, everybody's junk email, it went to different districts throughout Florida. So, again, if you look back at decisions that are made, sometimes you look at decisions going, we probably shouldn't have done that, it wasn't necessary. So that's how we learn.
Okay, so I'm gonna address you as a parent now. As a parent, your kid was kept after school for an activity, and you found out that the dogs were brought in after your kid was released, only after everybody cleared the campus, at least they thought, because there was still someone on campus, that they brought the dogs. Wouldn't you be a little upset about that? Because I'm telling you, my daughter is beyond furious.
Yeah, I would be upset. I would be questioning the same thing you're questioning, the same thing you're saying right now. And that's why we're having this discussion and talking about it. So I don't blame you, I agree with you. I'd be the same way. Nobody's making excuses, we learn from our mistakes and we improve. Nobody's trying to make excuses.
Okay, so how can we ensure our parents as teachers that their kids are completely safe after something like this happens?
Again, like I mentioned, that's why we brought in experts, that's why we're doing training to improve our SOPs and the latest trends. That's why, again, that's why I mentioned that. That's why we have to do it after actions, like we have these discussions to improve, so these things don't happen again.
They're gonna happen again.
Okay, then we need to follow up with better communication after the fact. Why was, there's several people in this room that did not even know that the dog showed up to this campus. Why was not a very detailed information about what happened, how you found it uncredible, that yes, dogs did come, and yes, the building was finally cleared of things? Why was that never communicated
There's
with
an
the
incident
parents? Because
report,
parents
I presume.
should be informed, as well as teachers. There's teachers on this campus that don't even know what happened that day.
That is a great
And it
question.
should have been. We're not disagreeing with you, it probably should have been, and we'll work with communications so we can, again, next time, that should have been shared, so we apologize.
Is that included in
Hold
the
on, Bobby,
incident?
go ahead, did you have a question?
I just want to make a comment. My name is Bobby Simons, I'm the tech here. I was still here on campus when all of this occurred, and so was the secretary, because we were walking out and we did see all this happening. And it was a little alarming. I was alarmed from the get-go when I'm a tech, I wasn't notified. It hit a spam and nothing caught it, nothing. Nothing caught the word bomb. Plain and simple. That's the number one trigger. Whatever else happened afterwards, it is what it is at the end of the day, but we need to make it better. But when I left here, I don't even know what time I left, I don't know what time you left, but I was still in the parking lot. Me and Cozy were walking out, we were late a lot. And I did ask that question on my way home or the next day. And I think it was out of peace of mind for the principal at that time. Like that was, I think, what she was thinking. She wanted to do it, she had access, they were able to come out. And I think that's what happened and occurred. Yes, we all were still here, and I don't agree with any of this stuff, the way it went down. But at the end of the day, if it went out to that many schools in the spam folder, who checks it during the day? We're all in cafe duty, everywhere else. But how are they gonna get in and check every single school without getting these kids home safely? But I think that was her call after the fact to make herself feel better that our school was safe, even though everything happened the way it did. Not right or wrong, but, and I don't agree one way or the other, I'm staying neutral in it, but that's what I believe happened. And I think she made the best call that she could at that moment. And yes, it was hours later.
I do love that it was, that they did that they brought the dogs. I think that was the right call to get the true all there. Yeah, I liked it.
Jude, go ahead.
Yeah, this actually goes back to the communication issue that Mrs. Scarnato brought up. And this question is really for Ms. Neely, because I spoke to Ms. Neely that afternoon about this, and she told me that Mrs. Lust was directed to send communication to parents and teachers to give what information she could have. None of us ever received that email.
This seems very simple. Where's the incident report? I mean, you write one when a kid bumps their head. There has to be a written incident report about the timeline and how things happened.
There's a drill tracking system that we input information in. That was completed before the dogs came on campus.
So it was closed without a complete report?
Well, the incident report, yes.
Who signs these? I presume someone in leadership, as Mr. Newell, would sign it.
It was
Okay.
approved in the system.
This is alarming to me. This is happening.
I do have,
Okay, Chip, go ahead.
Chip Welch, a parent. I just wanna say, I feel a little more comfort that the dogs came out and came through the school. You say it's so difficult and you wouldn't do it again, but from my perspective, that gives me a little more comfort that the dogs were here and checked it out and didn't find anything.
Don't count
So-
on the dogs, Mr. Newell said.
Even though it was later, a couple hours later, it was before the next day of school started, so it gives me a little comfort that they came out. So whoever made that decision, I'm okay with that. And I would like that to happen again as part of your policy. That's just my opinion on it.
I would like to comment on what he said. I agree. I think the dogs should have been here. I think this campus should have been cleared. But I don't think kids should have been left on the campus until the campus was cleared. I think it was wonderful. I really wanted to know the next day when I came into work that the campus was clear for my safety we didn't have students the next day, it was a teacher duty day. But for my safety, I wanna know, and I had to come in the next day, so I'm absolutely glad that the dogs came. My biggest issue is why did we leave kids and teachers on campus if that was gonna happen after the fact? It should have happened, we should have been sent home. I wouldn't have been any issue to me if they would have said, we really just wanna be safe and precautious. Why don't you cancel your clubs, send your kids home, and be, you know, this is not likely gonna happen, but just for the safety of our kids, because, I mean, I ensured my daughter that her son was absolutely safe and nothing was gonna happen to him. And then when I found out, you know, right after I left, the dogs were there, that just like, I lied to my daughter. I do not know that my grandson was safe at that minute. I don't know my track members were safe at that minute because the campus had not been cleared. So I'm all for dogs. I really think we should have the dogs here, but I don't think we should leave kids on a campus before that our building is clear whether it's credible or not. And I love the Sanibel School. I think this is the greatest school in Lee County, and I give a lot to my job here. But I also know that before anything, and it's always the district saying, safety first, safety first. Safety comes before anything. And as athletic director of this school, that is very important to me. Safety first, safety first. And I really don't think my kids were safe that night until the dogs came, which is great we didn't, because what a sad case that would have been if it would have been real and what could have happened. And I don't like to talk about what could have happened, but we gotta remember that it could have happened. And I don't like what ifs, because life is too short.
Any other questions or comments? Go ahead.
Hi, it's Jillian again. So I just kind of want to know, you had mentioned that I would like just clarification. You know, I know you did an internal review, so I don't know if you're allowed to disclose what you found on your end, what went wrong, what you plan to improve. And I am very grateful and relieved to hear the resources you have for this specific incident. You mentioned Homeland Security, so that does give me peace of mind that we do have the experts working behind the scenes. But I also have a concern that this was, March 12th? And so 2 months later, it sounds like there hasn't been a clear policy update, is what I'm gathering. You said you were gonna have training this summer, but there was also training last week, and then a teacher back there had mentioned that she hasn't seen this video that you referred to multiple times. So I just kind of want to know if there's just any clarification on what you found wasn't according to policy, what policies have been amended, and then how you just plan on moving forward, or if we could expedite this. I worked in a hospital and I was actually I went to Atlanta for FEMA training, so like when we had an incident, we, you know, you have like a 24-hour internal review, and then you have to make your policies within 30 days. So 60 days post-event is, more than 60 days is a little alarming to me.
So our policies were amended right away, but we probably may keep amending those policies and changing them, based on, again, as we move forward to keep training. We obviously, you know, we have a very large school district. So, training be conducted a proper way, everybody has, you know, it's trained properly, not just on a video, watch the video, read the policy, but we wanna make sure that everybody knows exactly what to do. One of the things I know you mentioned about the canine, I understand the comfort of knowing the canine responded. It just gives that sense of comfort knowing the dogs have checked, the dog has checked the building. And I agree with, you know, the fact that, you know, it did take them a couple hours to get there, and people were still in the building as it said. So that's one of the things too, which is a conflict. What I can say is one of the things we're also working on with the sheriff's office is, and we talked to the bomb team, is what is their protocol? When will they respond and not respond based on the information? So one thing I don't want to guarantee right now is tell you that every time there's some type of bomb threat, that the sheriff's office will definitely send a bomb dog to search. They may not based on certain criteria, because if you look at this scenario, this was sent out to multiple locations all over. So we know, did a canine, did a bomb dog go out to every location? No, because it was sent all over the place, and they know it was not legit. But that's the part we have to deal with. So we have to rely on other departments that are experts in those areas to understand when will they and when will they not respond out based on the information. They have to be more specific. So that's one reason we brought them in last week, and we're bringing them in the summertime to get specifics and answer questions about when will they respond and not respond based on the criteria. And normally, they will not respond this type of vague information. So that's why we're trying to continue moving forward, get more information. We may, again, it could affect adjusting the policy. We want to make sure that everybody has, I know we have some teachers in the room and parents, everybody has that, everybody's exposed to the training and we can answer everybody's questions. So it's not that we haven't made changes, but we're going to continue to look into this because I think on a K through 12 school-based site, ALC, it's challenging. We want to make sure we make the right decisions. We want to make sure that all as parents that you know your kids are safe, and that how we handle these situations are done properly. So if we make mistakes, yeah, we're going to own it. We're going to improve. We're going to move forward from there and improve on these mistakes, so it doesn't happen again. So I hope I answered your question. But yes, we didn't wait till March. These discussions took place right away. I met with the Sanibel Police Chief, his administration. Again, the bomb team, all these discussions took place right away. Because again, just to make sure that we are doing what needs to be done properly, I want to make sure everybody knows that they feel their kids are safe and the administration is safe as well.
Yes.
So any mistakes we made, we will own it and we'll move forward.
Yeah, so I don't like gray areas when it comes to my child's safety. I feel like nothing personal, but I do feel like you've kind of gone back and forth with, we do recommend this training, we recommend teachers watch it. So I guess just as a parent, what can you tell me that, how will my child be safe? Say, God forbid, I pray every day for the safety of the school, but, we get another email. I haven't heard like a complete set plan moving forward. I haven't heard if dogs will or will not come. I have not heard, if kids are going to be evacuated or not evacuated. So I would just like to know how it would be handled moving forward.
And actually,
Right now,
sorry, go ahead, Mr. Neal.
No, I said right now, if we have a bomb threat, what we do, we're going to evacuate. And what I can say is, I can't always guarantee, I can't speak to the sheriff's office every time you have a bomb threat, depending on the information. That I don't want to speak for. I don't want to make promises that a bomb dog is going to respond every single time, depending on the information. So that's what I'm trying to say. But are we going to evacuate? Yes.
But you just said
But
that you may or may not evacuate, so it can't be either or, it's gotta be one or the other.
I'm trying to tell you what was out there, what's the latest. I didn't say we were doing that, that's why we're doing all this training. I'm telling you what's recommended. So whether we evacuate or not, some parents are gonna agree with us and some are not gonna agree with us.
The current procedure is to evacuate.
Okay,
It's not
thank
to
you.
not
That's all we needed to know.
That's a
that.
great,
I just wanted to
that's
make sure it is
a
to
solid
evacuate.
answer.
And that has
Thank you.
not changed
Thank you.
at this moment.
So, Mr. Newland, we would like you to come back, this is Chris Demars, the SAC chair, we'd like you to come back for our first SAC meeting in August to review improvements. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, wonderful,
Thank you.
excellent.
Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
thank you for being here for us today, we appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you back in August.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving along, the next on our agenda is school enrollment data, including on and off island data. So we do not have this right now, we thought that we would, so we're gonna put that agenda item off until August. Will be on the agenda in August. And next is the DAC update. Is there any DAC update? Nope. Okay, moving right along, SSS update. Dorothy.
Yes, thank you. So I'm Dorothy Plum, president for 4 more days, I think, 3 more days of Sanibel School Fund.
31st, December 31st.
Say that again?
It's the 31st.
So a couple things. One is that we, Sanibel School Fund, I think most of us know. Are you aware of that?
I'm fully aware, yes.
Okay, so I don't have to explain what it is
You
we
don't.
do. But in summary, we are held accountable for enrichment, education, and activities at the Sanibel School, and we do that through ample fundraising and initiating, supporting, sustaining those activities on campus. And those activities those academics, the curriculums, they've grown over the years. All of which we all should be really happy and proud about, and I'm proud of that. So that brings me to a recent fundraising event that Sanibel School Fund had. The Blue Ribbon Classic this year was a casino night fundraiser, dinner reception, and then the next day our Blue Ribbon Classic golf tournament. It was incredibly successful, raised upwards of $175,000 gross, which is, that is a record. There were many records actually set that night, that being a fundraising record. Also, the number of parents in the room that either were supporting their kids, their school, or really liked to gamble. That was a record. And then also a record of the community in the room. It was incredibly inspiring to see all our sponsors in that room. We had the foundation, from the Sanctuary Golf Club Foundation there, which hasn't happened very frequently. So that's sort of a summary. We are still working on our expenses related to those events, so we'll have a better idea of, sort of how much ultimately we have and how that will impact the budget next year. So a couple updates though, administrative updates. You guys may all, or maybe not remember, this time last year, I was made aware from the Foundation for Lee County Public Schools, which is sort of our umbrella under which we serve, that SAC should not be an oversight for Sanibel School Fund any further. So that in fact it was a conflict that our budgets ever came to SAC for review or approval. So we have effectively updated our constitution to demonstrate that or to reflect that information. So while we're pleased to come to SAC and share what our budget is, we, per recommendations from our foundation, have been told that we no longer need to seek approval for that data. Additionally, changes to the Constitution are such that another record, a miracle, that we have a lot of people interested in getting involved with Sanibel School Fund next year. We typically have 4 levels of involvement, your typical treasurer, secretary, vice president, president, and we've changed our bylaws now to represent members at large or to include them. So they are a part of these changes. And then lastly, a big part of, I think the changes are the budget. So normally the current board members and treasurer work together to finalize the budget, say now in May for next year, but it really made no sense because we, especially now, given the state of our school and our budget cuts, we don't know what those numbers are going to look like. So we made changes that will reflect that the board, the incoming board, we have now a budget that will help get the school through August, and then the incoming board, effective August, will finalize their budget and submit it to the foundation for approval and also to SAC for review. Yeah, please.
Can you tell us who is the incoming board?
Yes, thank you for asking. So Thursday, today's Monday, on Thursday at 7:30 here AM at the school, the new board will be elected. So it is not yet known or decided upon who the board will be.
Great, and it's Thursday at what?
This Thursday,
What time?
7:30 AM.
7:30 a.m. Okay. Thank you.
I just want to, go ahead.
I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Dorothy for leading such an
Awesome
amazing
job,
few years of SSF.
5
years of SSF, and I just want everybody to give her a round of applause.
One more thing, actually, it's often said in my 5 years that volunteering for a job like this is thankless, and I've never felt that. Like, it has been an honor, and I have gotten thanks along the way, and so I don't feel like that applies to SSF or any interested in board members. So.
After attending every one since I've been here, I want to say that this year was very well organized. And I loved your fact of having the dinner one night and the golf tournament the next day, especially for us that did both. It was so much nicer to go home and get ready for the dinner versus having to jump into the clubhouse and change after being out on that sweaty golf course up there. So I just want to commend you guys. You did an amazing job this year on both the dinner and the golf tournament. and the kids loved it. Kids enjoyed having fun out there, golfing.
Yeah, it was
the
a
golf team.
truly fun 2 events. It was really fun. And
Okay,
fundraising.
That concludes our agenda, so the meeting is adjourned at 3:45, 3:46.